Do you ever notice how a single song can freeze time? One moment you're driving with the windows down in 1975, the next you're back in that memory every time the chorus plays. That's the magic of these one-hit wonders. Songs that burned bright hit the top and then disappeared like a summer storm. Some made us dance, some made us cry, but they all left a mark. Let's rewind and start the countdown. Number 15, Minnie Riperton, Lovin' You.
Loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful.
Minnie Riperton's Lovin' You floated to number 1 in the spring of 1975. Riperton had something rare, a 5-octave range. She could reach notes so high, people thought only birds could hear them. That glass-shattering whistle register became her signature, and she used it here, on a song written for her little daughter, who you might know today as comedian and actress Maya Rudolph.
Making love with you is all I wanna do.
The track was simple. No heavy drums, no flashy solos, just tenderness. Maybe that's why it stood out in a year of disco and rock anthems. It was her only top 40 single in the US. But what a legacy, a love song, a lullaby, and a showcase of one of the most extraordinary voices of the era.
Loving you is more than just a dream come true.
And from the sweetest ballad of the year, we shift to the dance floor, a song that told the world exactly what to do. Number 14, Van McCoy and the Soul City Symphony, The Hustle. Released in 1975, The Hustle soared straight to number 1 on both the pop and R&B charts. It sold over 1 million copies, and even brought home a Grammy for Best Pop Instrumental Performance. Not bad for a tune McCoy had tossed together after watching dancers in a New York club. The song became more than a hit. It sparked a whole dance craze, filling roller rinks, discos, and wedding halls across America. But despite its massive success, McCoy never captured that magic again on the charts. Still, for one glittering summer, he gave us a soundtrack to the disco boom, and a dance we'll never forget.
Do the hustle! Do the hustle!
And speaking of unforgettable, our next track is one of the most sentimental ballads of the decade. 3 little words, feelings, nothing more than feelings. Number 13, Morris Albert, Feelings.
Feelings.
One of the most covered, most parodied, and most unforgettable ballads of the 1970s. Brazilian singer Morris Albert recorded it in 1974, but it was 1975 when Feelings swept across America. It reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 1 million copies. Soft, slow, drenched in longing, it became the soundtrack to countless breakups and tender moments.
Nothing more than feeling.
The song was so universal, everyone seemed to sing it. From lounge singers to comedians, Feelings turned into a cultural touchstone, sometimes sincere, sometimes tongue-in-cheek. But for Morris Albert, it was his one shining moment in the US charts. He never returned to the top 40, yet this song cemented his place in the one-hit wonder Hall of Fame. Whether you loved it or rolled your eyes at it, you couldn't escape it in 1975.
Feelings of love.
And now, from tender heartbreak to a question we've all asked at some point, number 12, Ace, How Long? Ace was a British band, and in 1975, their single How Long climbed all the way to number 3 on the Hot 100. Many listeners thought it was about a cheating lover. In reality, Carrick was singing about a bandmate secretly rehearsing with another group. Betrayal, yes, just not the kind you might expect. The smooth R&B-flavored groove gave Ace their one big American hit. After that, the band faded, but Carrick himself didn't. He went on to sing with Squeeze, Mike, the Mechanics, and even Roxy Music. His voice became familiar, even if the name Ace slipped into history. One timeless question, one unforgettable chorus, and one perfect example of a one-hit wonder.
How long has this been going on?
And speaking of unforgettable, let's lighten things up with a bit of pop rock magic from Scotland. Number 11, Pilot, Magic. If you're already singing along, you're not alone. Pilot's Magic was one of those songs that felt like sunshine poured into a melody.
Ho, ho, it's magic. You know.
This Scottish band, produced by Alan Parsons. Yes, the same man behind Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, struck gold in the summer of 1975. Magic climbed to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and instantly became a radio staple. The track had that perfect mix of light pop rock, soaring vocals, and just enough sparkle to make it unforgettable. Yet in the US, it was their only major hit. Their follow-up single barely scratched the charts, and Pilot quietly drifted away. Still, Magic has lived on in commercials, movies, and road trip playlists. One of those songs you can't help but hum on a sunny afternoon drive. And now, from sparkling pop magic to a smoky ballad with a jazz twist. Number 10, Phoebe Snow, Poetry Man.
You don't have to go. You're the poetry man.
Released in early 1975, the song reached number 4 on the Hot 100 and introduced listeners to Snow's rich contralto voice. She blended folk, jazz, and blues into something uniquely her own. Critics praised her, fellow musicians adored her, and audiences were spellbound. But here's the twist. Despite the acclaim, Poetry Man was her only top 40 hit. Snow continued performing and recording, building a respected career, but she never returned to the pop top 10. The song itself feels timeless, warm, smoky, and a little bittersweet, like hearing a secret you're not sure you were meant to know. A one-hit wonder that still lingers in the air, like its title suggests. And now, we leave the coffee house behind and head straight into the world of kung fu kicks and movie magic. Number 9, Jigsaw, Sky High. From the very first horn blast, you know you're in for a ride. Sky High by the British band Jigsaw wasn't just a pop hit, it was a movie theme, and it soared right onto the charts.
You blown it all sky high.
In 1975, the song was featured in the kung fu action film The Man from Hong Kong. With its driving beat, disco sparkle, and urgent vocals, it climbed all the way to number 3 on the US charts. For a band few Americans had heard of before, it was like rocket fuel. But just as quickly, Jigsaw drifted back into obscurity. No other single of theirs caught fire in the States. Still, for one brief moment, their sound was everywhere, on radios, in roller rinks, and blasting out of movie speakers. It was sky high indeed, and once it touched the clouds, it never came down again.
By telling me a lie.
And speaking of movie magic, our next hit chopped its way right into pop culture history. Number 8, Carl Douglas, Kung Fu Fighting. Released in late 1974, the song capitalized on the martial arts craze sweeping America. Bruce Lee films were everywhere, and suddenly, here came a funky disco beat wrapped around chopsocky lyrics. The result, number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and an estimated 11 million copies sold worldwide. For Douglas, it was both a blessing and a curse. Nothing else he released came close to that kind of success. The public wanted karate chops and disco strings, and once the craze faded, so did his time on the charts. Still, few one-hit wonders became this iconic. Decades later, Kung Fu Fighting remains a pop culture staple. Quick, fun, and impossible not to sing along with.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
And now, from the disco dojo to the dance floor that launched a whole new era of music. Number 7, The Hughes Corporation, Rock the Boat.
So I'd like to know where you got the notion.
The Hughes Corporation, a trio out of Los Angeles, gave the world one of the first true disco chart toppers. In July 1974, Rock the Boat sailed straight to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Many music historians even call it the very first disco song to hit number 1. The track was bright, smooth, and undeniably catchy. It became a gold-certified smash, filling radios and roller rinks coast to coast. But after that, just one other minor top 40 entry, and then the group quietly drifted into history. Still, Rock the Boat has never really left us. It's one of those songs that instantly takes you back to an era when disco was just beginning to rise. A one-hit wonder that helped launch a movement.
Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat.
And from disco waters, we drift into something softer, a farewell ballad that sold in the millions. Number 6, Terry Jacks, Seasons in the Sun.
All the birds are singing in the sky.
Released in early 1974, Seasons in the Sun spent 3 weeks at #1 in the US. It was an English adaptation of a Jacques Brel song, but Jacques turned it into a gentle pop farewell. Listeners connected instantly. Over 3 million copies sold in America alone, making it one of the year's biggest hits. The song captured that mix of sadness and nostalgia, like closing the door on one chapter of life, knowing you can't go back. But for Jacques, this was the high point. He never returned to the top 40 again. Still, Seasons in the Sun has lived on as one of the ultimate one-hit wonders, a tender goodbye that became his forever hello on the charts.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
And now, we trade farewells for CB radios and 18-wheelers. Number 5, C.W. McCall, Convoy.
19, this here's a rubber duck. You got a copy on me, Big Ben? Come on.
Released in late 1975, it rolled straight to #1 on both the country and pop charts in early 1976. The timing couldn't have been better. America was in the middle of a CB craze, and suddenly every kid knew what 10-4 Good Buddy meant. Behind the handle of C.W. McCall was singer and ad man Bill Fries, who created the character for a bread commercial before spinning him into a recording star. The song's story of truckers banding together against Smokies on the highway fired the imagination of millions. Convoy even inspired a Hollywood movie just 2 years later, but McCall never returned to the top 40. One big hit, and a convoy that still echoes down the highway of memory.
It was the dark of the moon on the 6th of June in a
From life on the open road to something a little more playful. Number 4, Starland Vocal Band, Afternoon Delight.
Afternoon delight.
In the summer of 1976, the Starland Vocal Band rocketed to #1 with this soft rock ode to daytime romance. The harmonies were so smooth, the delivery so innocent, you almost didn't notice what they were really singing about. Almost. The song was everywhere. It even won them the Grammy for Best New Artist in 1977, an award that often feels more like a curse than a blessing. Because after that, nothing else they recorded came close. They remained forever tied to that one sunny, suggestive hit. But what a hit it was. Sweet, catchy, and still guaranteed to raise a grin whenever those opening chords play.
Started out this morning feeling soulful.
And from sweet harmonies, we dive straight into a funk rock groove that lit up every dance floor in '76. Number 3, Wild Cherry, Play That Funky Music. Wild Cherry was a rock band from Ohio, but when disco started taking over, lead singer Rob Parisi decided to take a chance. He wrote Play That Funky Music after overhearing someone in the crowd yell the phrase at his band. Turned out it was the spark they needed. The single shot to #1, spent 3 weeks at the top, and ended up the 5th biggest song of the entire year. Funk grooves, pounding horns, and that unforgettable chorus turned Wild Cherry into instant stars. But like so many on this list, the follow-ups fizzled. They never touched the top 40 again. Still, for one wild moment, they gave us a groove that refuses to fade.
Lay down the boogie and play that funky music till you die.
And from funk on the dance floor, we slide into disco with a sultry smile and 3 little words. More, more, more. Number 2, Andrea True Connection, More, More, More.
But if you want to know how I really feel,
With its pulsing beat and breathy vocals, More, More, More sounded like pure velvet on a disco floor. Andrea True poured her way into the charts with a song that was equal parts sultry and irresistible.
how do you like it? How do you like it?
The story behind it is just as unusual. Andrea True had been working in adult films, but when she found herself stuck in Jamaica during a political crisis, she recorded this track as a way to use her time and her money productively. The gamble worked. By 1976, More, More, More had climbed to #4 on the Hot 100 and became a worldwide club favorite. But the follow-ups never reached the same heights. For Andrea True Connection, this was the peak, a glittery moment in the spotlight. Still, decades later, the song's groove remains unmistakable. Smooth, playful, and a time capsule of the disco era.
How do you like your love?
And now, to close out our countdown, we turn to Beethoven with a disco beat. Number 1, Walter Murphy and the Big Apple Band, A Fifth of Beethoven. You know Beethoven's Fifth, but in 1976 you'd never heard it like this. Walter Murphy took those famous opening notes, da-da-da-dum, and dropped them straight onto a disco dance floor. The The result was a fifth of Beethoven, an instrumental that shot all the way to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It sold over 2 million copies and later found new life on the legendary Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. It was clever, it was fresh, and it showed just how wide disco's reach had become. But for Murphy, this was his one giant hit. Later singles barely grazed the charts, and his brief moment of pop fame faded. Still, it's hard not to smile when you hear Beethoven funked up with a 4-on-the-floor beat. A classical master turned into a disco king, if only for a season. That's our trip back to 1975 and the one-hit wonders that made it unforgettable. Which of these songs still brings back the strongest memory for you? Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us for more musical journeys.